Hi, I'm Sarah Gonzalez. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Glenn, what was the top story for you?
Executive order, Donald Trump, birthright citizenship.
Okay, Stu.
There's apparently an election in about a week.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, you should get registered. Get registered now.
No, I don't think
We
you
have
can get registered
we have to
anymore.
vote before we leave. We're going on tour this week.
I know this week. GlennBeck.com/tour.
Yeah.
Although we will be back for Tuesday, but I really
I'm
don't
not
wanna go
voting
anywhere
on
near
Monday
there.
or Tuesday.
No. Only early voting or absentee for me these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason.
It was the migrant caravan, but I think I'm going to agree with the boss here, the birthright citizenship. I wish this show was 3 hours long today because we could talk about that, I think. But I am going to give an update.
If it was, I would be leaving to not hear you talk for 3 hours about birthright citizenship.
And we totally believe you that you would talk for 3 hours on that.
I've been reading English common law from 1776 all day. I went way down the rabbit hole. So this is going to be, get ready. Fun.
Wait for this.
And Blackstone said.
Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Before we get into that, want to thank our sponsor, Brick House. Do you guys have that song in your head every
Brick
time?
house.
Yeah.
It all hang out. Yep.
Are you done? Or
I'm done. That's all I got.
I can hear that for 3 hours.
Yeah. I could sing it for 3 hours.
Over English common law? Come on.
Yes, actually. No, but Field of Greens. So Glenn is really excited about Field of Greens because he doesn't have to actually eat his vegetables now. He can drink them.
I hate it. I hate it.
You hate eating the vegetables. You don't hate Field of Greens.
For lunch today, had chicken, and my wife dictates. I had Brussels sprouts on my plate.
Oh.
Brussels sprouts are amazing.
Oh, gosh.
I'm a fan, actually, of those
What?
two myself. My wife makes them. They're
You know
good.
what Brussels sprouts? You know how Brussels sprouts are good?
Oh.
With bacon.
Wrapped
I mean,
Wrapped in
you're not wrong.
bacon, yes. Bacon, then they're good. Anyway, I'm drinking my greens. Get the sprouts out of here.
Yes. So it is one full serving of fruits and vegetables. Each scoop is, you can mix it in water, milk, smoothie, whatever you'd like, and you can get your full serving of fruits and vegetables. Go to BrickHouseBlaze.com right now and use promo code GREENS for 15% off your first order, or you can text GREENS to 41411.
I hear one more person say, kale is good for you. Shut up.
Shut
Kale
up.
sucks.
Shut up.
Sucks. I drink it in the morning. I'm done. Don't talk to me about kale.
Okay, I'm just going to
Communists.
sit here and not say anything
All right,
about
okay.
kale, and I definitely don't have kale chips in my room.
Oh my gosh, those are horrible. Please, let's move on before I lose all respect.
Okay. All right, Glenn, the executive order.
Executive order. I mean, it is, and I know this is something that should be decided by the Supreme Court once and for all, because some people say it is constitutionally. The 14th Amendment is all about birthright citizenship, and you could come in and drop a baby and all of a sudden you can bring the whole family in. I don't believe that. I know that the reason why the 14th Amendment was put there was to make sure that the Democrats in the South were not somehow or another disenfranchising people's children, slaves' children, because they had children. Well, the slave might be, but if they have children, they're not citizens. It was all voting nonsense. It was all hatred. And they had to put it in the Constitution to stop, again, the Democrats in the South from doing that to African Americans. That's what it's about. I'd like this settled once and for all, and maybe an executive order, because I don't think constitutionally you can do that with an executive order, and I don't like it.
They have, who was it? Was it Lindsey Graham that has proposed a bill actually to go through the House to do this instead of an executive order? I mean, I don't even see how that gets passed.
You can't do that. You can't do that. It's constitutionally.
Right. And come Tuesday, you're not going to get anything done anyway on this.
Well, yeah,
So,
and the argument with, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. 3 hours over here, but if the initially,
Which is mate.
the initial rulings in the, before the 14th Amendment were against this, right? The country did not think if you just dropped over the border and had a baby that was necessarily citizenship. And the people who argue against it and say that it's not constitutional today say that you could pass a law, that you could legislate this out. I don't know that anyone is arguing you can executive order it out. Like, this just seems blatantly like he's trying to rile up the base before election and change the narrative a little bit.
I wouldn't mind him doing it just because I do think it's unconstitutional, and I would love to see it challenged in the Supreme Court.
I personally think.
Wait for a president to act, though, just to pass things that are probably
Right,
unconstitutional.
because we criticized Obama when he would sign
Yeah,
all
and
these
I don't
executive
like that,
orders.
but I mean, if we could get, I don't want a narrow rule. Like, I wouldn't want one from the Supreme Court that said, yeah, a president can't do that. Okay, we know that. I wish there was a way to trigger this in the Supreme Court so we could get a definition from them.
And this might be the only way, because an executive order is just going to get shot down probably in the Ninth Circuit, right? Within a week or within days or hours, it's going to get shot down in the Ninth Circuit, which puts it up to the Supreme Court. So in my opinion, the thing that really needs to get clarified is that, so that clause in the 14th Amendment is an absolute dumpster fire. So basically, I don't remember it word for word, but they always cherry pick the first of it, which talks about anyone that's born in the United States is granted birthright citizenship. But then it also says subject to the jurisdiction therefore, which no one has any freaking clue what that even means. Like, no one's been able to define that. What the heck does that mean? Does that apply to an illegal alien? Are they subject to the jurisdiction of the United States if they're here illegally? I would argue no. But no one's really argued that. And the Supreme Court needs to argue that. If they argue that one line, then they can probably go forward and get rid of this stupid thing. This is such a dumpster fire. There's actually agencies in Russia that send over pregnant women right before they're about to give birth to a place in Miami, to a swanky hotel and apartment complex in Miami. They give birth, they get American citizenship, they go back to Russia, and then when they turn 21, the entire family gets a green card. Yeah. This is insane.
Wow.
Did the framers intend for this? No. This is insane.
Yeah. Mitt Romney talked about this with China and Japan, I believe it was, going to Hawaii and doing the same thing. People who would come in 9 months pregnant, hang out for a few weeks, have the baby there, and then the baby has U.S. citizenship. I mean, it is an issue. I mean, it is a relatively big issue. I don't know why right this second it's an issue, right? Like, I mean, it is a problem, and like out of nowhere, we're all, I mean,
it's
something the conservatives have talked about for a very long time.
It needs to get done.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's only happening because of what's happening on the border. And what's happening on the border right now, the way the press is handling it is shameful, just shameful. To say that Shep Smith is right, that there is no problem on the border and this caravan's not coming, that's their stated intent.
There's no invasion.
Right.
What he said.
That's their stated intent. And they are coming, marching behind a Honduran flag. What else is that? Now, you can deny your eyes and you can deny your ears. But the last time they did that was with ISIS and the Caliphate. Didn't work out well, did it? You can't deny the reality. That's the craziest thing about what we're living in right now. And I feel there has been an even greater change. Every week it's something. And in the last 6 months, it feels like every week it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. This week, the way the press has disconnected from reality is astonishing to me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What's amazing to me is really how Democrats are using this now. With the birthright citizenship, is really kind of a modified form of Tammany Hall, back in the day in New York. It's exactly the same thing, but instead of coercing them directly and saying you must vote for me if I grant you citizenship to give you a job, it's basically a kind of a wink, wink. We're granting you the citizenship. We kind of expect loyalty. Or they know they're going to get it anyway. So it's really Tammany Hall all over again. Again, perpetrated by Democrats. Tammany Hall was back in the day.
And these guys are recognizable in their programs. The Democrats have become democratic socialists, which is recognizable to people from South America. They have actual communists and they have experience with that. So they recognize this. They're not learning English. They're being isolated, so they can't adapt to the culture because they no longer have to. It is an unbelievable disservice to the country, to the Constitution, to the people that are coming here. A disservice.
An interesting perspective on this is that when the framers kicked out the king, we never kicked out the king's laws. And there's so much of the king's laws written into our laws. Right. And a lot of it was misinterpreted. Again, I've spent hours today going down the rabbit hole looking through some of this stuff. But you'll notice when people are talking about this today, and you're going to hear this a lot going forward as they start debating this executive order if it happens. But they always reference a late 1800s case against United States versus Wong, where they basically, the Supreme Court ruled, I don't remember the justice's name, but the Supreme Court ruled that he was a citizen because he was born in the United States. His parents were Chinese. They eventually moved back to China afterwards. But they were legally here. They were residents here. They had a home here and they were living here. So they said, yeah, he is a resident. But they said these words. They said, based on common law, which the founders wrote this on, this is how it should be.
Blackstone's law.
Blackstone's law, exactly. Now, the problem is, I just looked through Blackstone's, the Conversations in English Law, and he never once says birthright citizenship. He never once says birthright citizenship, and this is very, very important distinction here. He does say birthright subjectification or birthright subjectship, birthright allegiance. So basically, it's a feudal system. It's if you were born on my land, then I can tell you what to do. You owe me allegiance. You are a subject of me, and in payment for my protection of you. That's what's based on. It's a feudal system. Now we just kind of adopted that and changed it to citizenship. It's completely different. Completely different.
Hang on just a second. This is such a misinterpretation of the law in the first place. The 14th Amendment was just trying to clarify the 13th Amendment, which was just trying to clarify the Declaration of Independence, that all men included black people. Then they did the 13th Amendment. Okay, free people, no slavery. Then the Democrats started to say we can hurt them this way, we can hurt them that way, we can do poll taxes, we can do all kinds of stuff. And by the way, your children aren't citizens. So the 14th Amendment was just to clarify the 13th, which was just there to clarify the Declaration of Independence. It had nothing to do with people coming across the border in our hospitals and having a baby, and all of a sudden you're an American. It had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with it.
Agreed.
All right, Stu, give us an election update.
Sure, we're a week away, actually, and we're really in the middle of it. About 20 million people have already voted. So if you think about that, I mean, I think it was 75 million voted in 2014. So we're at, over a quarter of people, at least at the 2014 midterms, have elected. We do expect this total to be higher this year, so it's probably a little bit lower percentage-wise. But this is already going on. Early voting is the thing now. And we kind of have a new update on this board. We've been using this, if you haven't caught the election updates on radio, this is where we stand right now. You see 46 coming into this chart at the bottom. These are the closer races, 46 for the Republicans. They have two pretty solid ones, Mississippi and North Dakota, that I think are relatively sure. That gets up to 48. Texas is pretty in pretty good shape with Cruz. It gets you to 49.
Beto's been saying they're in a virtual tie.
Excuse me, on this show, he's called O'Rourke.
Thank you.
Bob Frank.
Bob Frank
Bob
O'Rourke.
Frank.
Yes, he is. He says that. I mean, there's no evidence of that. I mean,
Voting Rasmussen.
Well, no. Another poll came out today. He was down 10 today, which is one of his worst polls. I think Cruz has a very solid lead. There's been some 4 or 5 point leads for Cruz that make you think, okay, it needs to stay in the leaning category. But I mean, I put Texas in the same category that I would put Minnesota, for example. There's been some polls that have showed that around 6 points for the Democrats ahead. I think that's going to stay there. But it is in the leaning category because it's close enough. You have an argument to be made that it's competitive.
I've seen some polls putting Tennessee in the lean R. Are you seeing that as well?
That is where I had it until today. The recent polling in Tennessee, because Blackburn had a couple of polls that came out that had her up double digits a couple of weeks ago. Post Kavanaugh, but that has seemingly have faded away. There's one poll that has the Democrat in the lead, another one has her up 3 or 4. So we have that kind of in the toss-up right now.
Any idea why? I mean, Marsha Blackburn has always been just rock solid.
Did Taylor Swift make another Instagram post?
No, I don't think it's Taylor related. It could be though. He came out as sort of pro Kavanaugh, the Democrat. He's a well-known figure in the state. He's running as a moderate Democrat, trying to say, like, look, I'm the sensible candidate. She's far right.
No such thing.
I don't think there is anymore. I mean, the only one, the closest you can get to it in national as a national figure is probably Joe Manchin, who again votes more with the Democrats than any Republican. So he's certainly a definite Democrat. But I mean, he's with that profile of a candidate has now a nice big lead in West Virginia, a state that Trump won by 30 points.
Anybody listen to the Daily podcast?
Sometimes.
Okay, it's from New York Times. I listen to it, and it's just I listen, so you don't have to. But I heard, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, how they were talking about these moderate Democrats. They were so hard to find, and yet we found them. And I can't remember where it was, someplace in the South where, they were pro-life, and they fought really hard. And here they are, the New York Times, building up this pro-life candidate. and talking about how wonderful this candidate is and how diverse the party is. Well, you had to go scour. And this person had left not left the Democrat, but wasn't really active in the Democratic Party, didn't really know what to do until finally somebody said, you know what, you were so great. You know what happened? Well, they went crazy on abortion. Well, you should stand up for it. Okay. New York Times celebrates this. They're not going to. How do you think they're going to treat that person if she votes for the next Supreme Court justice if they're pro-life?
Yeah, they wanted them all out. I mean, it was.
They wanted them all out.
They wanted them all the pro-life Democrats out of the party as of 6 months ago. I guess they found someone who they think can win, and that profile seems to be working well. I mean, Manchin's doing it. They're doing it in Tennessee. Casey in Pennsylvania is relatively.
So have they given up on the Democratic Socialist nonsense?
Oh no, I think they're doing it district by district. They realize West Virginia, you're not going to win with that, so they run a Manchin. Same thing in Tennessee. You're not going to win with that. But I mean, Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, Texas is the interesting one. I think they just see him as such a or Robert Francis O'Rourke as such a interesting candidate and a solid candidate that they're going to be competitive here. Because he is not admitting it all the time, but he's essentially running as a Democratic Socialist. I mean, his policies line up pretty closely with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I cannot believe it's even this close with a Democratic Socialist in Texas.
Yeah.
I went and voted yesterday, and I had to wade through all of his staffers, all of his campaign people. Yeah. They had a big this is in Colleyville, for crying out loud. But they had a big old tent set up. They had like 4 or 5 people catching people as they're walking in.
If he wins, it will be because of his ground game. His ground game is unbelievable.
And his money. I mean, he's plenty of money. But if we could finish up the Senate thing, do we have a second?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a break because
Okay.
I don't want to rush you.
Sure.
So we'll take a break and come back to that. We've got more coming up on the elections, but first we want to thank our sponsor, Skinkick. I have sadly reached the age where I was starting to see some fine lines.
I'm glad you're bringing it up because we've been talking about it.
Wanting to mention it.
And fine lines. Look at the lines on my face.
I know, we're just all wrecks over here and you're complaining.
Yeah.
Well, I have a product for you then. So, and just kind of the bags under my eyes. And I was introduced to Skinkick, and it has been life-changing for me. It's a cleanser and then a blemish relief lotion and also an anti-aging glow renewal serum. But the great thing for me is that it's really quick. So it's 5 minutes twice a day. You don't have to worry about going to get facials and all that kind of thing. It takes care of everything. If any blemishes pop up, you can use that blemish relief lotion. And then the anti-aging glow renewal serum has been amazing for me. I've already seen the results. My mom is using it. She's, of course, obviously older than me, so she has more mature skin. Yes, math, I know.
More mature skin. That was a very nice way of saying that.
Yes, you're welcome, Mom.
Mom, I think she just called you old.
Older than me, and she has just been saying that it has really firmed up her skin. She sees her fine lines decreasing. So you can try it now, and here's the results. Here, as you can see, I can wear no makeup and still feel confident, taking selfies on my couch for whatever that's worth. You can go to tryskinkick.com and use the promo code TheBlaze30 for 30% off. And they also have a 100% money back guarantee. So you really have, are you ready? You remember this tagline? You really have nothing to lose but years off your face.
Oh,
There you go.
Yes.
Wow.
All right, back
They didn't pay a lot for that.
back to the election.
So quickly, let's finish this up. There, you have it was about 46 seats coming in. They've got 5. I think it's 5 that they're. I can't quite see the graphics gone, but there were 5 seats that were in the leaning categories, which gets you to 51 if they can hold it. I mean, again, those leaners. I mean, Missouri and Indiana are slight leaners, so they could lose this. I mean, I think 49 is pretty sure they could lose if they lost all of them. Likely, you think those things probably wind up getting split unless there's some big wave election and they're able to hold it.
Garrity just said one more kick of something really bad and it could hurt.
And it could. I mean, look, it's possible they get to 49. I mean, at that point, though, if they lose the House, it's not going to be that much of a difference if you lose the House and the Senate because, Trump can still theoretically veto everything that they pass. Whether he will or not, we don't know. But I thought this was interesting. This is attitudes of independence, and this is kind of a breakout in one of the polls as well. These couple interesting pairings here. Do you support the rights of kneeling NFL players? Well, 57% say, yeah, you support it. They have the right to protest in that way. However, when you look at whether they actually support their arguments, it's another story. Only 39% say they actually support the actions of the kneeling NFL players.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's America, right? I mean, sure, you have the right to do it. I don't agree that cops are bad and you should wear socks with pigs on them and all the stuff that they've done. But, of course, you have the right to be a moron if you want to be a moron. And then this one I thought was interesting, too. Abolishing ICE is a very fringy position, right? I mean, this is a position that even Cory Booker, dodges questions on. But to show you how unpopular Trump's tariffs are, look at the polling on Trump's tariffs. I mean, only 33% support that, 30% with ICE. This policy is as bizarre to the middle of the country as abolishing ICE. This is not a good policy, and there's a new report out today saying that it now looks like the tariffs are wiping out all of the gains of the tax plan. All of the gains of the tax plan. The ultimate kick yourself in the face. I mean, Trump did so much good, I think, with the policy of the tax plan. It was really helped the economy. We had a nice little jump there. And now we're getting beaten up by the tax increase, which is a tax increase that he's done on his own. And it's really hurting the country right now, and we're going in the wrong direction because of it.
He really needs the economic advisors around him to tell him and somehow or another find a way to impress on him, this doesn't work. It doesn't work, and you're going to really hurt yourself. If he would take it's like he's pressing the gas and the brake at the same time. Yeah. And he's got to take his foot off of the brake and get rid of these tariffs.
Hopefully Larry Kudlow can be influential at the right time. I'm sure he still believes these things.
But as everybody knows, and everybody has told us, Trump believes this.
This one he really believes.
He believes
I think the only way he'd change on it is if the economy really starts to fall apart. And then I think he would.
And that may be too
And
late.
it really may be too late.
Yeah, maybe too late.
I just want to say before we go, I really appreciate you creating the hashtag Tarifageddon.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
just
that.
to
Legacy.
cover all of this.
Legacy.
Yeah.
You'll be remembered for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's called leadership.
What do you think, Jason?
I think that's
So pissed.
All right, back in a minute.
Look how we argue about this thing that's been like retweeted like 3 times.
Obama was just out campaigning for his buddies, and he had something very interesting to say. Watch.
I'd like to think there are compassionate conservatives out there who think there's nothing compassionate about ripping immigrant children from the arms of their mothers at the border and putting them in pens. I'd like to think that there are people who might not agree with me on everything, but agree that just giving $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion in tax cuts to people who don't need it and making the next generation pay for it or trying to cut Medicare, that's wrong.
Glenn?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Deep breaths.
Back into our lives.
The balls that it takes for him to stand there and say that about ripping children. Those pictures that all upset everybody that started this were from the time he was in office. The unmitigated gall to do that. And, if I may, on a week that the press is saying, you got to turn down your rhetoric, you've got to stop demonizing people, you got to start uniting. What is this president doing? He is doing exactly what they say Donald Trump is doing. He is demonizing the other side. He is lying about someone. He is saying that someone's going to come and rip the children out of your arms.
Yeah, cutting Medicare. That's the last thing in the world Trump is proposing. He's proposing the opposite.
They're going to cut Medicare. And again, with Democrats, nobody ever needs tax breaks. Only the 50% that don't pay taxes need stuff. The 50% of the nation that does pay taxes, they don't need that extra money.
Yeah. And by the way, I noticed it wasn't very polished. You know, for the great orator that everyone said that he was, it was not a very polished speech. But
he doesn't care that much anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And remember to go to glennbeck.com/tour. Glenn and Stu are going to be gone starting Thursday?
Thursday in Richmond, Virginia. Don't miss it.
All right, we'll see you in overtime.